All right, when you have an exponent of 0, short and simple, anything raised to the 0 power is equal to a 1, period. So that first one up here, they have all of negative 2/5 raised to the 0 power. Since the whole thing is raised to the 0, the answer is 1. But on this second one, these parentheses here are separate from the negative. It's negative 8 to the 0. The 0 is on the parentheses, which is the 8. The negative is hanging around out in front. So technically what I have here, let me try to use a different color. You've got this negative here, so that negative is still there. And then the 8 to the 0 makes that part a 1. So the answer is -1. Hope that makes sense. Now back to the whole thing about it equaling 1. There's several ways you can explain why it's equal to 1. The first one is, let's see, if you have, let's say, x to the third over x to the third. I have something over itself. You know, like if you had 5 over 5, that's 1. If you had 7 over 7, that's 1. So x cubed over x cubed, that's 1. But, and I'm going to erase these down here, if you go back to the quotient rule, which is another topic in this problem set, the quotient rule says when you're dividing the same base, you subtract the exponents. So I'd end up with x to the 0. Here you've got an x cubed divided by x cubed, and here you have an x cubed divided by x cubed. However, this one is equal to 1, and this one is equal to x to the 0. But if the yellow is equal to the blue, and the yellow is also equal to the pink, then guess what? The blue is equal to the pink. And that's one way to prove it. Another way to prove it is actually study bases, and I'm just going to use base 10 because it's easy. If I had 10 to the third, that equals 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. If I had 10 to the second, that's 10 times 10, which is 100. And if I had 10 to the first, well, 10 to the first is just a 10, right? So that's 10. Now I'm at 10 to the 0. Okay. When I went from 10 to the third to 10 to the second to 10 to the first to 10 to the 0, I'm decreasing my exponent by 1. When I look over here, I'm losing a 10. Here I've got 1, 2, 3 10s. Here I've only got 2, and here I've got 1, and here there's none. There's no 10s there whatsoever. And then when I look at my answers, when I compare my answers, this has a 1 with 3 zeros, this has a 1 with 2 zeros, this has a 1 with 1 zero, and this would be a 1 with no zeros. Do you see the pattern? Or you can look at it this way. Each time over here, when you lose a 10, what's happening is from 1,000 to 100, there's actually a division of 10 happening there. 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. Then on the next one, you lose another 10, right? When you go from 100 to 10, that's another division of 10 because you lost the multiplication of 10. 100 divided by 10 is 10. And then when I get down here, I've only got 1 10 left. When it gets taken away, 10 divided by 10 is 1. So hopefully one of those 3 explanations is enough to convince you that anything raised to the 0 power is equal to 1. If it doesn't, this is one of those times in mathematics when it's best just to accept it and move on. Okay.